All right, now we're recording. And now can you see me now?
I can see you perfectly.
Oh, good, good, good.
How are you
It's good
doing?
to see you.
Good to see you. It's good to be seen. I think the last time you were here, you said, well, it was like in the middle of all the COVID nonsense.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We were in the heart, we were in the thick of it then.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying something like, February, it'll start to get better.
Oh, well, guess what? We're way off there. Here we are.
I don't know about way off. I think the numbers really started to improve in February and the vaccine came around.
Well, yeah, that's true. We are getting
So,
better now. We're seeing some good numbers. And I think this summer, I have some, I haven't done anything at all because of the COVID. Most people haven't, you
Yeah.
know, as far as affairs or anything like that. But I have already, I have a client, I have a partner in Indiana, and she's booked up. She has like 5 festivals she's doing already.
Great. That's awesome. I love hearing. I was going to ask you about that. I thought you might have had, now that COVID's done, because I know you love your fairs and everything. I thought you might have had some things planned.
Yeah, no, we have something for July that we do every year. And the city that does it, city of Lisle, they didn't do it. They're not going to do it because it's just too big. And they thought they didn't know where it was gonna be in July. They have to plan that way ahead of time. They just said we're not going to bother doing it.
Yeah.
And then I have the place I work. Linda and I both read at the Theosophical Society. They have a festival that they do in September, and last year they didn't do it because of COVID, and this year they're not going to do it just because it's a smaller fair, and they don't really know what was going to happen with the COVID. No, it's not going to bother.
Yeah. Well, it's a weird time because we're just kind of coming, like everybody's optimistic, things are improving, but there's like a lot of ifs, everybody's treading carefully, I think.
That's right.
By next summer, we'll be good though. By next spring and summer, we should be well on our way back to normal, hopefully.
I agree. I think so too. And I'm planning on doing some things in this summer, just because, like I said, I got that woman I know in Indiana. She wants me to read at her festivals.
That's great.
Yeah. So I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I want to try and get out too. I haven't really looked into much. I know there's a couple of workshops I want to attend. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's a YouTube creator. I don't know if you know Tom Benjamin or not, but he wants to create, like, he wants to establish it like an East Coast or like a Northeast United States tarot festival.
Oh,
probably wouldn't be this year, but maybe next year, maybe, or even in the fall. But we're talking about it. We're kind of in the preliminary stages of looking into it, but just something to get everybody kind of to go to one place or another, and that's not too far from everybody.
Wow.
And do something like that. That would be great, especially now that COVID's, hopefully by then COVID will be at least over as we know it. You know what I mean?
Sure, right.
We'll be on our road to recovery, which is nice.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, what state would that be? Philadelphia?
We're trying to figure it out because so my friend is in New England and I'm in Philadelphia. Okay. So we were thinking probably somewhere like maybe in like upstate New York or even up there. We talked about Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That would be fun, right? Salem.
Yeah.
Maybe around Halloween time, although probably so crazy there around Halloween. That would be great. But yeah, just we would have to agree on a city. Obviously, everybody who has been interested in it is interested in having it close to where they live. So
right. Yes,
it would have to be a compromise of some sort.
Sure, right.
I mean, I think it'll happen. So
well, they used to have something like that years ago. They had it for like 4 years in a row. And I think they had it in Chicago once or twice. And I didn't go to it. But it was like a 3 or 4 night thing, maybe 3 nights. Yeah. Big hotel down around O'Hare Airport in Chicago area. And one of the nights was a masquerade ball where you would get dressed up as a card.
Oh, that's great.
But they did it about 3 or 4 years, and then they just stopped doing it. I don't know why, but
yeah, I mean they had that Comic-Con, the people that are into comic comic books, and
Yeah, right. Yeah.
they have
Right.
these big festivals, and I wonder sometimes why we don't have that in tarot. I'm sure they do, somewhere, but just nowhere near me that I know. So we could call it Tarot Con or something.
Sure, right.
You know what I mean?
Hey, I might go. I might go.
I'm itching to go somewhere because I've just been under lock and key for so long. I'll be happy with anything. So how you doing? What's new with you? Anything?
No, just going along. I'm
Nice.
obviously the book is was released.
Yeah.
My last book in January, and that's going real well. And the cards are selling well. The books are
Great.
selling well. The cards are selling well. I'm starting to start my next book in my mind.
You write a lot of books, Vincent. You write a lot of books. You write a lot of books.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
great.
I know they're starting to add up.
That's great, though. No, I actually love this book, and I've been reading it like all week. And the amazing thing is, I love the chessboard.
Yeah, yeah. I got that at Toscano's, which is I got it at a place out here. Yeah.
Right, this is your chessboard, right? I remember you talking about you always wanted an Olympic size, or not Olympic size. It's not a swimming pool.
Tournament, regulation.
Tournament, right?
Yeah, that's not it. That's an old shot.
Okay.
That's just a designer type of a board, but I like that board.
Yeah.
It's a resin, that board.
I play a lot of chess myself. I play chess every day, like 25 times a day, but I do it on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Now it's funny because when you came out with your chess video, you did a video on tarot and chess.
Yeah, right.
I told my friend Chris Kelly, he's in your group. You probably know him, the Scottish fellow that's in your group.
Oh, okay, I think I do. I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. He attends your Zoom gatherings.
Yeah.
And really nice guy. In fact, he gifted me this book, which is really nice of him.
Oh yeah.
But so right around the time you came out with the chess video, I had been thinking about tarot and chess. And it was like a synchronicity. And I was telling Chris a couple of days, and he sent me a message. He said, "You got to see Vincent's last video." And I was like, "Okay." And I went over, and it was tarot and chess. And I was like, "This is so synchronistic for me," because I was thinking about the parallels between chess and tarot.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? I agree. And I like to use it. My work, I always talk about how I think that the application is what we should be focusing on, more than focusing on symbolism of the cards or what the cards mean. I'd like to look at the application of what we're doing with those cards more. Yeah. And I like the analogy of chess because it's chess pieces. Yeah. And I got them because if you were to take, let's say Bobby Fischer was still with us today, master chess tournament player, 1972.
Yeah.
So you could give him a dime store chess set, and he would play master chess on that set. Or you can give him a tournament style chess set, and he play master chess on that. The chess set doesn't make any difference. He's going to play master chess no matter what the set is. You can play master tarot readings no matter what the deck is. Yeah. It's the application that's what's really important. Yeah. And I think that and another thing I like with chess, the analogy, is the board is always the same, 64 squares. And I like the idea of keeping your tarot spread consistent because that's your playing field. Yeah. Keep that consistent. I don't care what deck you're using. If you prefer one over the other, that's fine. But I think that what's really important is to learn the reading, how to read. Yeah. And learning how to play the game of chess. You can play chess on any set you want. It's the game. How you move those pieces is what's the game about, not so much what pieces. Bobby Fischer could play just as good a chess with a tournament style chess set as he could with a Lord of the Rings chess set. Yes. Absolutely. And so it doesn't make any difference what set you're using. And I think we put too much focus on the cards in the tarot when we should be putting more focused on the application of what we're doing.
No, I agree with you. Actually, it's funny because I spent the last probably, I don't know, 2 years reading I haven't even really used the Celtic Cross in a really long time. I do 3-card spreads.
All right.
When I read for people, I draw 3 cards per question.
All right.
What I do, and that's often how I read for people now. I for the last 2 years, but I feel like in this kind of current juncture in my tarot journey, which is I view to be like a lifelong kind of learning thing for me.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like the spread, like you are making me see spreads again. You're making spreads cool again for me. You know what I mean? Because I feel like, no, it's like, because I have all this practice with reading the cards visually and the symbolism, which I love. But then there's like another gear there for me personally. Now, I understand you and I are very different readers. We're going to be different.
Sure.
But what I'm getting out of your book and what I appreciate about you is your, the emphasis on the spread. And that's like kicking in another gear for me.
Okay.
So it's like I've been reading without spreads for so long. Now that I'm using spreads, it's like it's making the readings a lot more, you know what I mean by that?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, the spread. I think a spread helps you structure the question you're looking into.
Yeah.
I think it puts structure to the question. If it's almost like, how the way the mind works, let's say you got a friend of yours who came up to you with a problem. You'd be asking questions. So what'd you do? What about this? What about this? What about that? And you'd be talking about it. A spread, the positions are all those, what about this? What about that? Each position is a what about.
Yeah.
And so it puts structure in your question. And what I like with spreads is now what I write is that you can change those positions too, which you obviously know if you use my spread. My Celtic cross is totally different than a traditional cross.
Yes.
And so you can change them to ones that you like.
Yeah.
And it helps you really force yourself to look at that question in ways maybe you didn't consider before.
No,
I think that's what I like about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And actually, you made a good point in your book when you said that, you addressed the how. What is it? The how, what, when, and why, or
what, why, how, and when.
What, why, how, and when.
Right.
You said if you address one of those, you answer one of those, it's a good reading.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. If you address all 4, it's a stellar reading.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That made a lot of sense.
If you could answer, if you have somebody coming to you with something, and so what, why, how, and when, if when seems to be the key with this question, this reading you're doing, when to act on this, and the person's thinking about acting tomorrow, and you're thinking, wait a minute, hold up on it. Why don't you wait till next month? This is going to be more in line. This person is going to have that resolved. You're going to get this squared away first. Wait till next month. That can make all the difference in the world on them having a successful objective of whatever they're trying to do, or not. The timing, So that could be the total reason why it's successful is because they waited.
Yes.
Or maybe you're looking at it and say, you know what, you better act now because next month you're not going to have an opportunity. You better get off your butt and you better get doing it now because you're going to lose that opportunity. So that's one aspect, when to act. That can make all the difference of them being successful in whatever they're trying to do. Same with why. Why do you want this in your life? Maybe they're looking at something that they think is going to give them something that they really want in their life, and maybe that's not really going to give them what they think they want. Maybe, or how are we going to get this done? Maybe they're looking at spending all their effort trying to do something that's not going to get them anywhere.
Yeah.
And try doing this over here, be a lot simpler and a lot more effective. Do this instead. So just one of those aspects can make a big difference.
Definitely. Yeah. And usually when people are paying a reader, and you make this point too, if they're seeking professional consultation, they have a problem,
Right.
They have something they want to work out. So that it definitely makes sense. I mean, and your spreads are very much about problem solving, I think. And
Yeah, right.
you
I
know,
try to get to it, right. I don't, my spreads are not set up to do a cold reading.
yeah,
I mean, I could do a cold, you want a cold reading? Fine, you're not gonna get much out of it with me,
yeah, I agree.
but I'll give you one, but to me, that's a waste of time. Uh,
Yeah,
but so and right, most of the time when people are paying you, they'll have a question,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. That's a theme that I see a lot with a lot of tarot, even a lot of tarot professionals. They run into the issue of people coming in, in the party reading kind of scenario. You have people who aren't really one familiar with how tarot works, but also they don't really have a problem. It's more curiosity. They want
Yeah,
to test you as a reader is what they want to do. They want to test
yeah.
you're the real deal or not or whatever it is.
House parties.
What's
House
that?
parties are that way. House parties.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Because half the people there, they weren't seeking you out for a reading. It's just, what are
yeah,
we doing here at the park? Oh, we got a reader in the back room. You want to get a reading? Oh, you got a reader? Oh, tarot reader. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I'll go get a reading.
yeah,
It's just something for fun. So
yeah.
that's where you get a lot of cold, where I saw where you get a lot of cold readings.
Yes,
It's because they just say, oh yeah, John told me to go in here and get a reading. Well, yeah, so okay, I'm getting a reading. Here's your $20 or whatever.
yeah,
Tell me what you can tell me. You know, so you do get that.
definitely. I mean, so it's like it's like anything else. People just they're curious. They want to
Yeah.
they want to test you out. But I find personally, that even in my style of reading, which is slightly different, probably not that much, but it's different.
Uh-huh.
I like to have a question.
Yeah.
The
Me
cards
too.
can answer the question.
All right. Yeah.
And so
I agree.
I found it interesting that the first two positions in your Celtic Cross deal specifically with the question itself and
Right.
like that establishing the question, you know,
Yeah.
and looking at the question itself and whether it's the right question.
Is there a question behind the question? Is it the real question? Is there, what are you really looking into? And so it allows you to really go deeper into the question with the client. And
Yeah,
position 7 on my cross too, how they're viewing their own question.
yeah,
I like that too, because 7 and numbers 1 and 2, I look at together.
yeah.
Seven
That's
is, so are they seeing this situation or this question as a bad thing? Maybe it's not. Maybe there's a silver lining to this thing. Or are they seeing something that they think is good, but really it's not the best thing for them?
yeah,
And so it allows you to really question their perception of their own question sometimes. I like that too.
yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a big discussion too with tarot readers all the time. It's like some people are like, oh, I really need a proper question, and other people are like, well, I just kind of when I talked to Rachel Pollack, for instance, she told me initially when she started, she was very question centric. She was all about establishing the question. But then she said she came to a point in her life where she just started writing down what the people said, and she's like, I just read on this, not even questions, she reads on the statements, which is really interesting. But that's something that she evolved into.
Wow, yeah, that's
Oh,
a
it's
cool
fascinating.
idea.
Yeah, it's fascinating to watch. Like when you get your cards read by her, she writes down the statement, every statement that you make, and
Oh,
she's a master reader. I
oh
mean,
yeah. Oh yeah. I
she,
never thought of that. What a great idea.
yeah,
What a
yeah,
great idea.
it's very interesting. But I think that it's very useful to have, you know, because I think a lot of people going into readings, you know, I think the question is very important, and that's an important aspect of the readings, like making sure you have the right question, and then looking at that question, you know what I mean? So I
Sure.
find that very useful.
Well, that's why I like my positions of my cross, because I think it really does look at the things that are useful for a question.
Yeah,
What do you got going for you? What opportunities should you be looking for in the future? And what's the real purpose of this question? and things like that, I think are what efforts are you making right now? What are
Yep.
you trying to accomplish first in this thing?
Definitely.
I think that those can be very constructive. And but it's funny because I think as time goes on, I'm always tweaking it here and there, fine tuning it a little bit with this, a little bit there, adjusting it slightly here and there, just as time goes on. I don't, you know, I don't know if I'll ever have it where it's just never going to be changed again, you know. But
No, I
and
mean,
you know, the 3 card spread that I do, past, present, and future. Of I like to look at past as what in the past did happen to you, or did you attain, did you acquire or learn something from the past that will help you with this situation that we're talking about in the future.
yeah.
You know, that's how I like to look at the past. What happened in the past that could help you with something in the future, and then what are you doing in the present? What efforts are you making right now? Are they the right efforts in the present, or should you be doing something else? And then I look at the future as opportunities to watch for as they come up, to grab, that will help you. And I think that's a lot better than looking at past as saying, this is what happened in the past. This is what's going on right now. And that's what's going to happen in the future. I think that's more fate related. And I don't like that.
Yeah, one of the spreads I use of yours is often is the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities spread. I look
Yeah.
at that often, like in my daily reading.
You like that? I like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think it's a useful 3 card spread, and like you just demonstrate, it's very related to past, present, and future.
Sure.
Because the things that you've overcome in the past, you've overcome them, so they become strength. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So,
You've been through this before, something similar to it. This is how I handled it. And I think it'll work here for this, you know.
yeah.
I learned something from the past that will help me now with this. You know, yeah, I think that's so. Yeah, it makes. Otherwise, you're looking at the 3 card spread as a lot of people might look at it as a boring spread, but it doesn't have to be a boring spread. You know,
I find that it's the perfect number for a card spread because I find like five. There's a Facebook group that does these five. Everybody pulls 5 cards. I think I'm not even going to name the group because I don't want to. But it's a group. It's like one of the many Facebook tarot groups. But everybody draws 5 cards, and there's no set spread. It's just 5 cards.
Okay.
And mostly it's Rider-Waite Smith decks, which I find interesting. But and I always just want to say, I said a few times to people, like, I don't know how you just read 5 random cards together. It's, you can come up with some kind of story, but your brain kind of starts to break down it's a spread in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just don't know how that happens. So I feel like 5's too much. Even 4, I guess 4 could work, but for me, 3 seems to be the sweet spot.
Yeah, I like 3 too. I do too. I mean, matter of fact, even when I do the Celtic Cross, that's 10 cards. I'd like to combine certain sections together to make minis, like 3 card spreads in that. 1, 2, and 7 I read together on the cross, and then 3, 4, and 9.
Yeah,
and
1,
5, 6.
1, 2, and 7. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
7 is how you view the question, right?
Right. The question and how the client views it.
Okay.
And then 3, 4, and 9 is what the client's going through, what they're trying to achieve right now first, and what's the purpose of this whole thing. What's the big picture? And then 5, 6, and 10. 5 is assets the client has. 6 is an opportunity the client is going to have in the future that they should grab. And 10, I look at it as finer details and things you should watch for, good and bad.
Yeah.
As you move forward. So I like to read those in like 3-card spreads. And then 8, I keep all by itself as the timing.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great. It's definitely great. Your spreads are great. I mean, they're so useful. I think even for people that don't read with your system completely. I think you still have a lot to offer the larger community as far as the spreads are concerned.
Okay, yeah,
That's why I always go back to your books. I always go back to look at the spreads.
okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's one of the things I really liked about this new book, because, usually in a tarot book, the spread is sort of tucked away in the back.
Yeah.
It doesn't really get explained, or just kind of keywords and stuff, but you've actually dedicated a book to your spread,
Right.
which you view to be the key element of reading for you.
Yeah, right.
I just think this is a very unique book, and I encourage people to check it out, because it's really it's been very helpful for me, especially practicing the Celtic Cross, and then also getting ideas to develop your own spreads and things like that. So,
that's good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
that book-
really liked it.
That book was it moved as I did it. I didn't really know what I was going to do in the beginning of that book, as much as I just felt my way through it and it came around. The positional influences was something that it was really, I didn't know I was going to put that in there. And that's where each card, how it changes in position meanings,
Yes.
and that was something I thought, wow, that's a lot of work. I don't know if I should put this in this book. It's too much,
It worked out perfectly. I thought,
Yeah, it worked out. It did work out.
Sometimes great books just write themselves, I feel like.
There you go. Right.
It's like they're already in existence. You're just kind of channeling it and putting it out there.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, and I like the chess thing. You did another video the other day, which I found interesting, which was you did a parallel between we were talking about intuition.
Okay.
And we're talking about archery.
Oh yes, Robin Hood. The split
Yeah,
arrow.
Yeah, I really
Yes.
found that interesting, and it was very. I like the way you relate it. You related the intuition to the archery.
Well, you know what made that interesting was, like I said, the first shot was a dead shot, dead center bullseye. The second shot was off. And that's because I was trying to reproduce what I just did with the first shot. So I'm not using my feelings anymore. I'm using my mind to reproduce what I just did to get that second shot. What did I do? How did I hold the arrow? How was I standing? I'm trying to duplicate instead of feel it.
Yeah.
Feel where that shot is. And so the second shot wasn't a hit. The third shot, I let that go. Again, I'm just going to shoot again. And that's when I split the arrow, was the third shot. Because I let that try to memorize what I did. I just said, no, okay, that didn't work. So now I'm just going to, no, that feels right. Bam, there it was.
Every time it works, though. And it works with any kind of shooting, or even like shooting basketballs,
Well, yeah,
if you
right.
think too hard about it, you don't,
Yeah.
you always miss or whatever. It's like
Right.
it's like you have to let your natural state, kick in, and then that's when
Yeah.
you shoot the hoops,
Well, it's funny when I was a little kid. This is a funny story. I was probably about between 4 years old and 8 years old. I was living. My mom was married to some guy. We were living with him, and he had a big backyard, 2 German shepherds, and we'd let the dogs out in the backyard, and they would go to the bathroom out there, And so, there was a lot of flies out in the back because of that. So there would be flies in the house. Every now and then you see a fly. Well, I used to shoot the flies with rubber bands. Because you're a kid, you're playing with rubber bands, you shoot this fly.
Sure.
And I got good at it. I got good at shooting flies, killing them. They land, bam, I shoot them. And you just felt it. You could feel you were right.
Yeah.
And then, so I kill all the flies in the house. I go fly hunting in the house, And when I got all the flies in the house, I open up the screen door in the back to let more flies in.
Yeah. That's funny.
I might say, close that screen door. I said, oh yeah, okay. And when she's not looking, I just open it up. There's some more flies in the house, so I could kill some more flies.
That's funny. Well, now they sell those salt guns. You could just, shoot them with that. They have these guns at the hardware store for fly guns.
Oh, do
And
they?
I would have loved that as a kid. They didn't have that around, but
Oh yeah.
now they have these salt. It shoots out salt, table salt.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't
So
know they had those.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All
Probably
right.
coming. I don't have one. I have a zapper instead, but I might have to get one next time I'm in the hardware store.
But I remember as a kid, that's when I first realized that feel.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's it. Bam, and you'd shoot.
It's
And
funny. I can relate to that, but actually, as a piano player, I sometimes will sit down to play a song I haven't played in a while, but I've been playing for years,
okay.
and I can't, and I'll think about it, and I won't remember how it starts, and then I get it out of my mind, and I just start playing it. But if I think about it, I don't know how I do it. It's sort of like the muscle memory or something, but it's just like there's a part of me that knows how to play the song because I've been doing it for so long. But once I think about it, or if I had to explain, it's in this key or whatever, but if I sit down to play it, I can play it with no problem. Really strange. And I think
Yeah.
that's intuition. I really think that sort of the same thing that you're
I think
describing.
so too. At least if it's not intuition, it's the same part of the mind.
Yes.
It might not even be, I don't know, if we want to call it even intuition, just saying we're using that part of the mind that we don't know anything about.
Yeah. The unconscious. Yeah.
Yeah. And that part of the mind is definitely where your intuition comes from. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And it might even be more than intuition. I think there's parts of the mind. I mean, look at savants who can hear a masterpiece one time and then play the whole thing and things like that. There's or pick somebody like Bobby Fischer playing chess.
Yeah.
Or we all have the same amount of gray matter stuck in the skull. Someday we're going to know how to use that, just like all these masters did, and we're going to be able to reprogram the mind to become a savant musician or a master chess player. We'll be able to do all these things. I think we're still, when it comes time to the mind, including intuition, which we don't know anything about really.
Yeah.
But someday we're going to know a lot more about the mind, and I think it's going to be. Right now, we're still in a stone age with it.
I know. Yeah, they said that, I remember they said the 21st century was going to be the century of the mind, exploring the mind. I remember reading.
Oh, yeah?
I remember reading something about that, like with medical science. They said like the 21st century will be, it'll be all about learning the brain because that's like the uncharted territory.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I think what all we do with a tarot reading is set everything up and hope that intuitively we get something.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And it's just I like to think of it like fishing. I can go to a pond and throw a line in the water, and I might get some hits today. I might not, but I set everything up, get the right bait, get the right location, and then you just wait and see what you get. I think the same thing is with intuition.
Yeah.
You can set it all up. You can set your table up. You could light some incense. You could have the room quiet, whatever you want to do. And then hopefully this intuition just starts biting, and sometimes it does, sometimes depending on the person sitting across from you too. Maybe the person sitting across from you, which I think is why it's very hard to read a skeptic, because they block intuition. A skeptic,
terrible.
Yeah. But so I think that that's all we have right now is set it up and hope for the best. And try not to think about it too much. Because if you try to force intuition, it doesn't work either.
I tried to read for one of my best friends growing up. He's it's my brother, my good friends for 25 years, and very friendly with his wife. And I read for his wife all the time. She loves it. But he is just a quintessential kind of fundamentalist materialist. He just, it's like he he has to see it in front of him for him to understand it, you know.
Sure.
And it was like so many failed attempts to try to read his cards. I finally gave up. I'm like, I can't root for him. I can't, because it's just, I'm a very intuitive person. And I don't mean that as in I can feel what's going to happen now. Sometimes I can, but I mean, I feel like I can really pick up on people's emotions very, very well.
Okay.
And I can sense the skepticism
Yeah.
or the kind of like almost mocking me in his mind. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do this. I can't.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah. I'm sure you can. I'm sure you do feel it.
yeah,
Like you say,
exactly.
you're intuitive, so you're gonna
Yeah,
feel it.
it's an interesting thing, but I also think that intuition, and maybe you agree with me, or I'm not sure, but I think intuition is kind of informed too. You know, it's like that sweet spot that you and just intuitively know. But I feel that going back to what I said about Facebook groups and these readings, I've been noticing like people doing readings for people. For instance, this one, and they'll pull 4 or 5 cards or whatever, and somebody will ask a very serious question like, you know, how does my boyfriend feel about me or something like that. And you know, the card, I'm thinking of a specific reading, but the card in the middle was the 2 of Swords. You had the Emperor on the left, and I think the Devil on the right, or something like that. And so people were automatically saying, this is a guy who's manipulative.
Yeah.
He's this and that. And I'm thinking, how can they get that with
No.
just that little bit of quiet? Like, you know, you have these cards in front of you. And yet, okay, the Emperor, people have a tendency to look at as a very negative card, you know, associated in a lot of ways. I don't personally, but people do look at the Emperor kind of negative. Like he's, you know, a tyrant. He's a male chauvinist. You know, this is how some people will view the Emperor. I view the Emperor as structure, you know, as that it's a male energy, but it's not a toxic male energy. It's a just kind of structural kind of energy with, you know. But I was just amazed at the people going out on these limbs, like coming up with these readings that I felt were just unfair to the client and unfair to the boyfriend, because they don't know.
Yeah, unfair.
Yeah, they don't know anything about the boyfriend, you know.
You're right. Yeah, at the turn of a card. If that's why I tell people, if somebody says something like that to me as a question, what does my boyfriend think about me? I'm thinking right off the bat, she doesn't know what he thinks about her. So he's not really there as far as she's not comfortable with where he's at right now. Otherwise, if she knew what she wouldn't ask that question.
Yeah, that's very true.
She's in doubt right now.
Yes.
And I wouldn't say anything bad about him, though. I would say probably I see the 2 of you needing to talk.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Or give it time yet. How long have you been going out? Maybe they've just been going out for a week. Maybe you still got to think about this, you know.
Right.
And is he married? You know, and or did he just go through a divorce? And those things are all factors that I look into, because it's not fair, like you said, to say that this guy's a creep.
Right.
He's not there to defend himself, and you're looking at you're just turning over a card, and you're gonna, you know, you can't do that. You know,
for me, the Devil card could be, you know, her sort of dependence on or insecurities even.
Yeah.
About something. And it could also be hit, you know. But the key that you pointed out was that you ask questions.
Yeah, I'll ask.
You ask follow-up questions. You get more information. So you're using your intuition. Going back to the intuition thing, you're using your intuition, but it's informed.
Right.
You know, it's not just guess. Intuition is not just guessing on a whim.
No.
You know.
Yeah. Right. There's guessing, and then there's intuition.
Right. Exactly.
There's 2 different things. If I intuitive see something like that, if there's an intuitive feeling, it's usually not. It would be more of maybe his health or something bigger than, oh yeah, he likes you or he doesn't like you.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you can. I don't think intuition works with things that simple. I think it works more with, well, I shouldn't say that. It does, for me, it doesn't come that easy. I've had a lot of stupid intuition that made, were totally, didn't make any difference at all. And nonsense, but that didn't do anybody any good. I was just there. And so I shouldn't say that. So I don't really know. I think that really, if somebody asks a question, I do like to ask questions, like you say. For one thing, I'll see patterns. And if, as you read for a long period of time, you'll see those patterns.
Yes.
Like if she says, I met this guy and he's separated from his wife. And we've been going out for 6 months and we're in love. That is a red flag.
Yeah.
And it's a red flag because usually half the time when there's a separation, they got away from each other. They gave each other space.
Yeah.
And they've been together for maybe 15 years. Maybe they got 2 kids. They've got a lot of life together here.
Yes.
Give each other a little breathing room. They come back together after about a year.
Yeah.
It usually takes about a year. In the meantime, he goes out with this new girl. He's confused. So he thinks he's in love. He's telling her, I'm in love with you. He means it because he's confused about the divorce or the separation or whatever. And then a year later, he calls her up and says, I'm going back with my wife. I can't leave her. We've been married for 15 years. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. And that's a pattern you'll see. And that pattern usually comes around after about a year.
Okay.
So if somebody says, I'm going out with a guy and he's separated, that's fine. You two might end up getting married, and maybe you'll be the rest of your life together. But take it slow. Don't get your hopes up. Give each other a chance and see how it is in a year.
Yeah.
And see if what's going on with them. Because just because they're separated doesn't mean that they're over. And that's one pattern you'll see. And at least I've seen.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. It's what they call it, the rebound or whatever,
Sure.
It's like,
right.
I've seen it happen 1,000 times myself. So not in readings, but in life in general.
Right. And you'll see with what they'll do is, and if they do get divorced, they're not going to want to get married again right away.
Right.
They're going to wait. We'll get to. All right, let me take a break from that for a while. So
Yeah.
are we gonna get married? He's not divorced yet. Are we gonna get married? Probably not for a while. But anyway, what I'm saying is, you as a reader, you'll start to see that what I find is really amazing, I think, is that a lot of the problems are the same problems that people are having, just different people having the same problem.
Yes.
And you'll see a lot of them are very, very common with each other. And that's where I say you can start to see patterns with these people.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that to
Definitely.
keep in mind, as you're reading with certain
Yeah,
situations.
I think a tarot reading should be everything that all of your experience, all of your intuition, as well as your common sense and your knowledge. And I think I think it's important for a tarot professional. I think somebody who's charging money for people to read their cards, I think that they have a certain responsibility, I think, to for one, you have people coming to you with serious issues.
Yeah.
And, you either keep it light and entertaining, or, know a little bit, have a little bit of experience, and be a little careful with how you deal with these people, because, somebody might come to you and say, hey, I'm having thoughts of suicide, or,
right.
And you don't want to pull the devil card and say, oh, it looks like you're going to do it, or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, or the hanged man, God forbid, it's like, but people, you have to tread carefully, you're dealing with people with real situations. And
I had one woman who did commit suicide. I had 2 suicides that were clients, and I didn't catch either one of them. And one of them, a pretty girl, and I wrote about it in Straight Tarot, I think. Pretty girl, just wanted a boyfriend. and she was on meds of some type. And she always used to come in with a new boyfriend. Is this the guy? Is this the guy? And lots of times he came to these new age bookstores with her,
Yeah.
And then she came to me one day and I could see it in her face. And I saw it in her teeth even. And what I was seeing was a clairvoyant thing. She looked fine, but she looked bad. Her energy looked bad. And even her teeth looked bad. Not really, but clairvoyantly they did.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at her, I'm thinking, this isn't good. You don't look good. But I didn't realize it was suicide because about a month later, she used to come and see me every week. And about a month later, I said to the people in the store, I said, hey, has anybody seen Susie or whatever? I forgot. I'm not going to say her name, but and the owner of the store said, you didn't hear it? Oh, she committed suicide. I said, what? I said, yeah, she committed suicide.
Yeah.
I said, son of a bitch. I didn't, and I knew something was really wrong there. But could I have done anything? Maybe I could. I don't think I could have, but I probably could have told her, why don't you just settle down and try to help her settle down. You're
Both
going to be
ends, I mean.
okay. Maybe she would not have done that. So I
You,
feel
you
bad.
can't really think like that though, because for one, you were at that time, you may have had, let's say you had a real strong, intuition about
Uh-huh.
some kind of impending danger. What could you really have done other than, listen, I have a really bad feeling.
Right.
Be careful, take care of yourself, seek support from others, things like that.
I
But
could
in
have
that
done
case,
that. Is
she
that
might,
going to be right? Is it going to be life changing?
no,
Is that going to be life changing?
probably not.
No.
No, unfortunately, it's not, because there are people. If you're having those kind of inclinations and things, people around her probably were also. And
Yeah, she lives with her parents. So I mean,
in those situations, man, they happen very suddenly. It takes everybody by surprise, and there's always that woulda, coulda, shoulda thing. I mean, I've had situations myself, but ultimately, you just can't really do much.
well, not only that, but I think depending on the type of person, like with me, suicide is always the last thing on my mind.
Yeah.
I would never commit suicide.
Me neither.
So, and and I don't think anybody should ever do that.
No.
So my head isn't there,
Yeah.
But if somebody came to me saying, I'm feeling suicidal, I would talk with them. But if they don't say that to you, I'm just going to go right over them. It went over my head anyway, so I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't next time. I don't know. We'll see. But hopefully, I'll never have it again.
Yeah, really, seriously.
Yeah.
What was the toughest reading you've had to do in your life? Is that one of the toughest, or I guess?
No, they're all different. I would say there are different types of toughness. I'd say the toughest on me are I've had it depends. I've had clients that are harder than other clients.
Yeah.
And usually the readings are hard for me if the person I'm reading believes that what I'm doing is something different than I believe what I'm doing. So in other words, if somebody says to me at work, Joni is my coworker, did she put a curse on me because I'm having a lot of bad luck? I don't believe in curses. So I would say I can't really, I'm not going to accuse her coworker of putting a curse on her.
Yeah.
But my client is dead set on curses, believing that they exist. So how do I dance around that? Yeah. That's a tough reading then. You can say, well, I just see, I see her being maybe a little jealous of did you get a promotion lately or something? And it'll pass. But no, I don't see any curse around. I don't see no curses, but that's what I'll say, but so usually if I have a client who believes is something I don't believe in, and they're insisting on that strategy, it's hard for me to read them.
Yeah.
I could do it, but it's a drain then. That's about the only thing I could think of as far as what's a hard reading. I really can't think of anything off the top of my head that was hard, like
Yeah.
touching. I know that they were there, but I can't think of anything right now.
Yeah.
How
For
about
me,
you?
I
How about
think, yeah, I think for me, when people are emotional, when they start crying,
Okay.
when it's a really, when you just sit down to do somebody's cards, you do a reading, and this was a cold reading, actually. This was a
All
cold
right.
reading. This was one of my better, because I'm at a party, and people in my family or my circle always ask me to read their cards for them. So if I go to a family party, my partner's family especially, I'll bring a deck of cards with me, and people, I start reading for people. And one of the people there, I didn't have a question. So when they have questions, I'll usually pull 3 cards per question. We'll go 3 cards per question. And then if they don't know, if I have to do a cold reading, that's when I do the Celtic Cross, ironically.
Okay.
I do the Celtic Cross in that situation. And so I had a Celtic Cross, and, there was a couple of nights and a couple of things. And I said a few things about a few people from her past. And it just so happened to coincided with something was going on with their life, a past person, a current relationship. I don't want to go too much into details for privacy reasons, but
Sure. Right.
but this person became extremely emotional and crying, and it's like you're dealing with something really delicate there,
Yeah.
and you have to tread carefully. And so I feel like for me, I'm a very compassionate person. I'm very empathetic and a kind person. I'm not a mean person. So I naturally think that way anyway. But when someone's crying, it's the ultimate reality. It's like the most genuine thing a person can do is cry.
Sure. Right.
Yeah. And
Well,
so
there you go. That would be, they will touch you. People will touch you.
you know,
I yeah, I know, I know what you mean there. They'll touch
yeah,
you. I don't think of that I don't see that as difficult though. I like, um, I think of difficult as the client is difficult.
sure,
A schizophrenic is a difficult read
okay,
because usually they're reading you because they got off their meds and they're getting a reading with you because the schizophrenics are very paranoid.
yes,
So they don't trust anybody. They don't trust their doctor. They don't trust their family. And everybody's out to get them.
yeah,
And they're off their meds. And that's a tough read. You got to read them in a way, you got to and they're very drifting. They're talking about this and then they're going into that, then they're going into this and they're going into this.
yeah,
And I've had, but they can still drive a car and get to you.
yeah,
So they're not all there, but they're there.
yeah.
And so that's I've had them where they refuse to leave the table.
You've had multiple, huh?
I've had a few of them. Yeah. One of them I could think of in particular. The store actually blocked her for a while, but they're very hard to read, and they're draining to read. I should
Oh,
say.
I bet. Sure.
And after a while, I would just say I just said refuse to read her anymore. I won't read her.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame you.
And then I've had schizophrenics who remember the BP oil spill.
Yeah.
Beautiful, cute woman, a beautiful woman, a lot of money, and she was I don't know if she was schizophrenic or she was out there in some other way, but borderline schizophrenic probably on meds. And she was figuring out, she had plans on how to stop the BP oil spill in the ocean. Now she's not qualified to do that, but she thought she was, and she was the FBI was out to get her, and they didn't want this was all planned, and the conspiracy. I had to take the battery out of my phone because she's afraid she'd being followed, and I've had that type of thing. And I
Yeah.
remember she always wanted to be. She was always looking for a boyfriend too, so she came to see me a lot, and she was pretty, and uh, she met a guy. She was, like I said, she had two brothers that were both doctors, and they watched over her. She had her own penthouse. She had her own condominium, nice car, but she didn't work, and she had an allowance and a good one. She came from money.
Yeah.
Anyway, so is this guy? Are we gonna work out? Is he sincere? Is he gonna be a good? Is he my boyfriend, my new guy coming? Are we gonna make it? And it was around Thanksgiving, and I said, well, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? And she always had her and her brothers would have the family Thanksgiving. I said, invite him to your Thanksgiving and see if he comes. If he's willing to meet your brothers, I said, I like it. He didn't go.
Right.
He didn't want nothing to do with it. But so you could find ways to try to say, okay, well, look, invite him over to your Thanksgiving. So you find ways to try to help them find their answers themselves.
Yeah.
And but I don't know how we just drifted off on all sorts of different types of readings, But yeah, there's a wide range of different type of difficult readings, but heartwarming readings. I've had a lot of those were just wonderful readings. And what I think was really nice is if you have something where a year later somebody will come back to you, and they're all different, they're changed, and they tell you how right you were on something.
Well,
that's nice to see. And I've had that.
I had an experience one time. I was in my early 20s, and I think I've talked about this in another video, but it was sort of a while back. But I was in Washington, D.C., and this gentleman came up to me in a crowded bar and said to me I was going to rescue a little girl. And I thought he was nuts, but I hate to use that term. I thought he was mentally ill.
Yeah.
And, but he was really well dressed and really just, older guy. You could tell he looked like he hung out at the country club or something. You know what I mean? He had like a top collar, and he started telling me all these other things. Meanwhile, I was waiting for somebody who was in the men's room. And when they came out, we were going somewhere else. So in the middle of him telling me all this stuff, I said, what's your deal? And he told me basically he was a psychic. But it came to me in this crowded bar in the middle of Washington, D.C. I had no idea what was going on. And just then my friend came out, but just when it was getting interesting, my friend comes out and is like, okay, we got to go. So I always had this weird thing. And it stood in my mind for years. And he said, you're going to rescue a little girl. I see you standing by the seaside holding a little girl. And this is going to happen, And so 15 years went by, at least, And so a few years back, we invited our friends down to Bethany Beach, Delaware, our shore house. So we invite them down for the week, and they just had their little girl, Anna. And we're at the beach, and, I've thought about this like I said, for years. Well, the ocean was really, really, really rough that day. It was knocking my mother all over the place to the point where she couldn't come in the water. And so they were down, and so Steve comes out with his little girl, and he comes just past the breakers, just where the waves break. He goes just beyond that, where it gets a little deep, but you're not getting smacked with the waves. And he has Anna. I said, Steve, you can't have her out here. It's too rough. And after talking to him for 2 minutes, he handed her to me in my arms. And so as soon as she hit my arms, I remembered what this person said to me all those years ago.
Oh my God.
And I said, I got to get her in. I said, I can't have her out here. This is really, really, like, irresponsible, and like just I got to get her in, and I took her in. And I swear that person 15 years before came to me in the bar to tell me that so that I would do what I did.
I believe that. I believe that. Yeah.
I can't explain it. I don't know who that person was.
No, I believe that.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff happens, and you can't explain it, right?
Yeah.
I remember 19 years old, we went to a psychic fair, me and my buddy, and this one woman was really the big draw, and she was just a psychic, and I wanted to be an artist. That's what I wanted to be at the time. So I always wanted to be an artist, but so my question to her was going to be, will I become a famous artist or a successful artist? And so I got my turn. She was just a line waiting for her. I got in to see her. And matter of fact, you had to sign your name on a sheet. And I signed my name, Vince. My nickname was Vino, though. Vino. All my friends called me Vino.
Nice.
We were drinking wine all the time back then. So I was Vino. It'll be, hey, Vino, And so I signed Vince. And so she yells out the next person, Vino. She yells out my nickname. And I come talk to her. I asked her my question. She says, I see you working with printing presses. She says, and she says, sign your name. If you do any artwork, sign it on the left-hand side. And I'm left-handed. And she says, I see you working with printing presses. If you work if any type of art, you'll be doing it with that. But she said, I see you in the printing business and printing it, maybe advertising. So I was disappointed, and I thought, well, maybe I'll be a graphic artist in the pre-press and printing in an advertising agency, doing print jobs or something. Anyway, 3 years after I got into the printing business, I was like 25 then, and we were talking about psychics overtime. We're late. It's late at night. We're working, and I was in pre-press up to plate making, printing plates. I never worked the press, but printing plates. And we were talking about psychics, and I mentioned that, and I thought, oh my gosh, that woman told me I was going to be working with printing, and here I am. So I don't even remember when I got into that trade. I didn't know. I didn't think of it. Didn't hit me right then. Oh, that's what that psychic told me. It wasn't until I was in it for 3 years that I remembered she told me this.
Yeah.
That's how.
Sometimes that happens. You forget. Because you don't put a lot of importance on it at the time, but then comes in after. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's very, very strange.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's things we just can't be explained.
Definitely. For me, that was one of the most mind-blowing things that's ever happened to me in my life, because I just know it in my heart to be true. I just know it. I just know that person, for whatever reason, at the time, I felt like it was important, because this was a person that came to me, didn't ask for any money, didn't ask for anything from me, just approached me in a bar that was packed with people, and came to me out of this crowded bar. And I've thought about that person so many times. I've even did Google searches on like local psychics in Washington to try and match the face, and I just could never figure out who this person was.
I'll tell you what, though, that was a true psychic, a natural psychic, and because Linda's that way, my wife.
Yeah.
And she can be in a grocery store and come up to say something, come walk up to somebody and say something to them.
Yeah.
And she'll never going to see him again, but she feels it and she knows it. So she'll say, watch out for, is this, it's not looking for an answer or nothing, but just say something like that to her.
Yeah.
And that'll be the end of it. And that's what that guy was to you. More than likely, that child was in danger, right there.
Yeah. Oh, I knew it. I felt it. I mean, like I said, my mom couldn't even go in the water. I think what happened was Steve he just didn't know how bad the ocean was.
Right.
I probably should have said, hey guys, the ocean's really, really rough this week. Be careful. Like I probably should have, but just going, you're on vacation, you're just kind of not thinking like that.
Right.
I didn't think of it. Plus, I don't have children, so it's like I don't think about stuff like that. Like parents have a totally different mentality because they're always thinking, is this okay for kids and this and that.
Right.
Like I don't. So I probably should have said something, but I didn't.
I bet you saved that kid's life.
I really think that, well, if anybody, it was the person that said something to me in the bar that saved her life, because I would have never done that if that person never came to me. And there's no way of knowing for sure, but I just feel it in my heart. Like I don't know who that person was, but they were a special person.
Yeah, right. And and you had enough insight to remember that when you grabbed that kid in your hands, you remembered.
Yeah, it hit me like as soon as, because I thought every time I was at the beach with children or whatever, sometimes it would creep into my mind, like, remember that time the psychic guy said I was going to rescue? I hope it's not today because I'm not in the mood to swim, but then, when Steve handed her to me, like, first of all, for him to hand her to me in that situation shows how much he trusts me as his friend, because he was like, here.
Yeah, but you said even before he handed it to you, you knew. You said,
I was like, it's too rough. You got to get her in, and but as soon as she hit my arms, that's when I was like, okay, this is it. I got to get her in. It was just like, this is the reason that person said that to me all those years ago. I just knew it. I can't really explain it, but it was one of the most moving things that's happened to me. That's in sort of the like spiritual kind of realm.
Yeah, right. We have I tell you what, with as far as I'm concerned, it comes and goes with me. Depending on what other things are going on in my life, I guess. So sometimes I'm more grounded. Doesn't affect my readings, but sometimes I'm more grounded, and other times I'm more intuitive.
Yeah.
In my life, and I've had some times where I'm very, very sensitive, and I've had some other times when I'm very grounded.
Yeah.
And like right now, I'm for some reason I'm more up in the air. I'm up in the clouds more.
Okay.
A couple nights ago, I went down middle of the night. I went downstairs and made a midnight snack. I'm half asleep. It's the middle of the night. And I hear Linda call me. Vince! She's upstairs in the bedroom. I almost, it was in the middle of the night and she's sleeping, I almost yelled out, what's going, because I'm downstairs now, on the first floor. And I thought, wait a minute. I better make sure that I went up there. She was sound asleep. So for some reason in her dream or in her spirit, she called out to me. I heard her call me. Maybe it's just to get back to bed or something. I don't know what she was thinking, but she did talk to me.
Wow.
And it's, and I would have woke her up because I would have yelled at what? What's going on? And she would have said, well, what's the matter? I said, you just called me. She would have said, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
Go back to sleep. So things like that. And that has no message. It's just something that was there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always have to be some profound message to it. Spiritual, that awareness.
I've had some things happen. Like we were driving to the mall once and I had this flash of a car wreck in front of me as I was driving on the highway. And anytime I have a bad thought when I'm driving, I'm not like religious really. I'm kind of am a little bit. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. But my dad used to always do this, all the time. So anytime I have like a negative thought, I just have a habit of doing that. And so I do that. And my partner Steve turned around to me and said, "What'd you do that for?" And not even 3 seconds later, the cars clipped each other in front of us. And I did that because I had like this flash of a car wreck. So I automatically was like, okay, pay attention.
Yeah.
And although there was no car wreck, the cars clipped and they were fine.
Yeah.
But it was like I felt it. I felt it coming, and so that's a good example of
Right.
intuition as well. I think you know what I
Right.
mean.
And I think or I think, as far as tarot cards, I think what the tarot does, I don't think a deck of tarot cards really has any power to it.
No.
But I think that this deck of cards, a deck of tarot cards, can spark that.
Yes.
When you do a reading, it can spark it, and make it come out.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's why you'll have so many situations with in reading where insight can come to you.
I think anything you put meaning into, like if you put a lot of meaning into something, I feel like there's a potential for it to send you messages of some sort. You know what I mean? That's what I personally believe. I like your very practical approach to tarot. And, I see that growing a lot, actually. I see tarot becoming, there's another channel of a person who does readings and is like very practical minded. You see that a lot now. Like they don't use, it's not your stuff, like your conceptual blending is a very unique thing, but people are more practical with the tarot, using it as a tool,
Okay.
But I also find personally that there is like a lot of times there's meaning involved in things, and you can get sort of what I refer to as synchronicities, or messages come across that way. So I like that you explain it practically.
Okay.
But I also what the heck was that? Sound like did you hear that?
That
Oh,
that's
it sounded
my
like
chair.
a turkey was in your loo. I thought you might have had a pet turkey.
That's my chair.
I was like, what's going on here?
I just moved the chair back.
How's the new deck coming along? Because I know you have a new deck coming out, right?
Yeah, it's out. Well, I haven't put it out yet. It's the same deck,
Okay.
only the majors are a black background.
Yeah, that looks really cool.
Yeah.
Do you have and go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's just here. There's one right here. The old deck, and then so there you can see the difference.
Yeah. Do you have a release date for that, or
no?
Probably.
I just got to I just got to fix the website.
Yeah.
You could buy either one. But I have them. I have them sitting. They're in the house here. I got 100 decks ready to sell.
Nice.
And so I'll be putting them out. And
Very
they come in a black box. They're going to be like this. So it's going to be Tarot Marseille by Pitisci Black Keys edition is what I call them. The majors I'm calling keys.
Nice.
22 keys. And,
yeah, that's a good idea.
So, and we'll see. But I'll tell you what, I still like the basic. My original deck, where they're all common backgrounds.
Yeah.
Now that I got them both, I like that the best.
Nice.
But it's going to be people have whatever you want. You can take whatever you want. So.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it'd be good, especially for people who like to read with majors only. They can separate them easily, or if you like to know where the majors are, if you want to be able to spot them easily or whatever.
Well, that's just it. With this, the majors have a lot more volume to it because they're black backgrounds.
Yeah.
Where the minors are regular,
Definitely.
They're the cream color background that I got. So you'll see them right away on the table. That's a major, that's a major, that's a major, because they got that look. But we'll see. I haven't. They'll probably be Creative Commons as well. So if somebody wanted to use this in a book, you could. If somebody wants to do it, I wouldn't care. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Right now, my regular deck is Creative Commons, which means you could use it in your book and it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
It's free it's public domain.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So this you could do that too, but if you take these cards and you convert them to black and white to put them in a book, which more than likely your book will be black and white interior, that's going to look like mud.
Yeah.
Because there's no color
Yeah, agreed.
difference. It's just going to look bad. And so I don't really think that's going to help anybody for that, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with it. I don't know why. I just decided to do it. And
well, 100 decks, I don't think is going to be a problem to sell. I really don't think.
no, they'll sell. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
already people want them, but
I'll probably buy a copy of it because I like your deck, and just to have it, it would be
Yeah.
cool. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I have kind of tapered back on the deck set, but I almost buy none now. I only buy because I'm a collector and I love new tarot. I love the art and so forth. But I'm just running out of space. Number one, so I just had to kind of taper back. But I also started to print my own decks.
Oh,
And yeah, I have.
what do you do? What
Pardon
you
me.
did? Oh,
Yeah, this is a project that I have going on with a friend of mine. Shell David is the artist. So
Oh
I'm
my
actually.
gosh.
So this is what I'm doing is a very historic process. It's these cards are made just like, look how thick they are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, these are made just like they were in the 17th century. So what I've done is I've completely recreated the historic process, which is what they use in the center is called cartridge paper. And so you use a type of cartridge paper. On the inside is the core. And then on the outer, you use thinner paper. I happen to use a Kozo paper or like a Japanese washi paper on the outside, but
Okay.
they come out really, really nice. So this is something that this is the John Dodal.
What is that a type of Marseille?
This was created by my friend Shell David. He redid the John Dodal, which is like one of the older Tarot de Marseilles. It's like the John Noblet, the John Dodal, and so
he redid those.
Yeah, he did the artwork, and I'm doing the card making. So we've collaborated, but it's been slow going. People have been asking me for them, and I made a few decks for people, but like the problem is it's very time consuming. So to sell these, to people like left and right is going to be impossible because it takes me a long time. The materials aren't cheap, so this isn't like a $30 or $40 deck. This is like $150, $200 deck, which some people wouldn't mind paying,
right?
Especially considering it's the historic process and all. But I couldn't possibly charge any less than that because the materials themselves are like pricey.
Yeah.
On top of the time it takes me, hours to make those. Actually, it's like a 2-day process because it doesn't take me 2 days straight, but I work for a few hours.
Do you trim those sizes? Are you cutting them?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I use a cutter like this,
Yeah.
So this is one of the better cutters that I've used. But yeah, I just cut them all the same size,
Yeah.
And the paper, it's great. Like I said, for myself, I can make myself decks, but people are asking me, and I probably will turn it into a service. Initially, it's a collaboration with the artist. I'm also working on I'm redrawing the old Grimaud deck, the 1930.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I'm kind of partially through that, and I'm going to try and color it the old school way. Yeah.
Okay.
And,
primary colors.
Not the old one from the 30s. Yeah, that's the one from the 60s, I think, right? Or is it the 50s maybe?
Yeah, right. This is probably the 80s or the 60s.
Yeah, so it's the same artwork. It's the same line work, but the colors in the 1930, if you look, you got to look at them up, are a lot more earthly colors.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's actually closer to the colors in your deck. You know what I mean? The blues are very.
They couldn't get that kind of pigment. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I don't have an example around, but I do have well, this is the John Noblet. This is a John Noblet. I just keep this as the hem.
Okay, yeah.
That's another type that I've done. This is just kind of a decoration. It's an extra card, I keep it around.
Nice.
But the color blue I'm thinking of is it's in one of the old Convair decks that I just don't have handy right now. But it's a
I think
it's
I
a
know
very,
the color you're talking about. It's dirty.
yeah, it's a dirtier color. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you're doing okay, so do you have a copy of the Grimo, the Grimo
Oh
deck?
yeah. Oh yeah, I have the current Grimald. Yeah, I love it. I love the Grimald deck.
Do you have that from the 30s though?
Oh yeah, I got it from the museum. Yeah. Yeah. So I have the original. Yeah, I have the original colors, and I'm basically just redrawing the artwork so that, because it's public domain.
Yeah.
The deck was created in the early 1900s, well over 70 years old.
Yeah.
At least the line work is, and I've seen 1,000 other people use it. So what I'm doing is I'm just redrawing the line work of the old Grimaud deck, and then I'm going to try and copy the old style color, which is going to be a challenge. But I have a lot of people that are going to help me, but like people that know color, and so I'm hopefully going to get them to help me pick out a color palette for it. And it's just a personal project I'm doing rather than buying decks.
I might be able to help you with that.
I would appreciate that.
If you want, if you want.
Yeah, no, I would love that actually. I would appreciate it.
Well,
yeah, because
you give me the colors, send them to me as swatches.
Yeah.
Even if you send them to me on your screen.
Yeah, email.
I can still match them close.
Yeah.
By measuring the values of those colors.
Yeah. See, I have almost no artistic education. Like I do not know anything. I'm getting in touch with my inner artist. I can draw a little bit, and I'm learning how to draw a little more and a little better. And technology helps because, drawing in a program like Infinity Designer, for instance, or even Photoshop, when you draw lines, you can manipulate the lines after. So it's different than having to get it. You draw with a pen, you got to get it right the first time. And if you don't, then you know what I mean? That's why art was never appealing to me, because I just wasn't good at, I guess I didn't practice enough or whatever. But I was always good at molding clay. I was good at carving stuff. So I think that graphic design is just, it opens up a whole new window for me as far as creating art. So I've been exploring that, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun,
Well, if you are going to draw a Grimaud deck, make sure that the one you're drawing doesn't have two titles on the bottom.
Yeah.
You see how that's got?
Yes.
It's got one title.
Yeah.
They came out with French and English in the 80s, I think. And what they did, so they put the English on top of it. So this box on the bottom was bigger, was higher.
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't. The same height.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, I see what you're saying with that.
They distorted. They cut stuff out in here.
Yeah.
They distorted them, and you could take like the strength card. You can see it there. Her body's shorter.
Yeah.
And they did that was all done with film then.
Yeah.
Because you have different pictures like this. Well, they didn't have the space anymore because they put two titles on the bottom here. This box at the bottom was higher. Now it's bigger.
Yeah.
So they had to make this shorter in the height. And they actually went in and took stuff out of here around her waist and stuff.
Wow.
So make sure that you got, well, the one you're copying just has one title down here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the one from the, that's a very good point. But this is the exact copy from the museum of the 1930, which was drawn by a guy named.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Paul Marteau. His name was. He was the artist. He was like the founder of Grimaud, I think. I think he's the guy that founded Grimaud. He's the one that brought Tarot de Marseille back because, and they just translated his book from French to English for the first time ever. Okay. But he was actually a great tarot historian in his day. He did a lot of work on bringing, the Convair deck and all the early tarot he liked Convair, and then he created the Grimaud deck, and that was based on another deck that I forget the name of it right now. Not the Convert. What the heck was it called? I forget. It's a very colorful deck, but yeah, he brought Terra de Marseille back to like the forefront. You know what I mean?
All right.
He like resurrected it in the early 1900s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm okay. Well, then you got it. Yeah, you got one. So you don't have to. Now you can't tell from this. This is really beat up deck. But see that bottom?
Yeah.
How they got two titles on there. You could barely
Yes.
see it on there.
Yeah.
So they had to actually make her smaller in here. They
I don't like
smashed her
that.
down.
That's a
They
shame.
took around her waist. They cut it out.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, because they probably needed to fit on the same size card,
they did.
and you can't shrink it like they didn't have the technology back then either. But,
No, they didn't have it. No, it wasn't. So they didn't have it.
yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that multiple title stuff, and for me, I'm happy with French titles. I like French titles for Terra de Marseille. It's fine for me. I know all the words. I know all the titles. So, for me, I would just prefer it even just in French.
Well, even if and plus you don't even, I know what the card is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to say temperance or
Exactly.
I know
Exactly.
I know what it is.
You know the temperance card. Exactly.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have decks in Italian. I have decks in I used to have one in Russian. I sold it, but I have decks in multiple languages, and I don't even look at the titles half the time. I just
Sure. You get to know the card. So
Did
you
you
don't need it.
Did you see this new deck that came out? This is one of the last decks that I bought. Was the symbolic Worth Tarot.
Oh no.
So this is the Oswald Worth, right?
Yeah. That's a good
But
deck.
they made a full deck. It's cool. I think you'd like it because it's very Terra de Marseille. But I was very excited about this deck when it came out because Oswald Worth did majors only.
No, the Oswald Worth had a full deck, but I had it.
Oh, well, I know U.S. Games printed a full deck, but I mean the original one was just 22 cards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like these cards right here. This is the good. There were two versions. There was a golden version and the earlier version, which is color. But this is the deck that, what U.S. Games did was they put I think it was just. I have the deck. It's like Marseille Pips or whatever. But this one's This one is the exact copy of the historic deck.
Oh,
but
okay.
I like the way they did the pips in this. So let me just show you a couple pips. So they're very Marseille looking, but they take elements of the majors too. So
yeah.
So for instance, so this is the seven. This is the seven of wands. So they take the chariot driver and they put the chariot driver here. So they relate the seven to the chariot.
I never saw that before. No, I never saw
these
that.
Are the pentacles. It's just a cool looking pit deck. You know what I mean?
Sure,
it's
yeah.
Interesting, and it's only like $20 or something. So I got it, and it'll be released in June actually in the United States. I got this from Book Depository, but
yeah, the Oswald. I remember the Worth. Like I said, U.S. Games probably made their version of the pips or something on it because I remember you used to be able to get it. I had it a couple.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I actually like that deck. A lot of people don't like it for some reason, but I enjoyed it. I use it occasionally, but now that I have this, I almost never use it.
If you look at your deck, see if the lovers card, the black printer, is burnt out. In other words, the black lines around the people and stuff.
The Oswald Worth, you mean?
Yeah.
What am I looking at? Which card again?
The lovers. It was only full on the first print. After that, for some reason they got burnt out, like overexposed, and the lines are washed out. They're bad, unless they fixed it. But I remember when I first got it, it looked good, and then I bought it again, a copy. It's like, oh man.
This is actually Lo Scarabeo. This version, Lo Scarabeo did. Okay, here it is. Yeah, no, it's
okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that looks fine. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have like a couple of what they call facsimiles from the original. They're just 22 cards because Worth was very much he wasn't really into pip, for one, they didn't even really read the cards back then.
Yeah, right.
They used this spiritual kind of development and stuff. But he believed that the spiritual teachings were only in the 22 majors.
All
He
right.
didn't
Yeah.
feel comfortable about the others,
Yeah.
But then this guy named Hugues Picard came along, who was a French kind of around the same time. And Hugues Picard is the one that sort of developed a system. I have his deck here. So, yeah, like Oswald Wirth kind of stuck his nose up to the pips. But this is the Hugues Picard deck here. And if you've noticed the El Gran Tarot Esoterico, which is a deck by Fournier, it's based on this deck. But
Okay.
let me show you a couple. So, for instance, okay, so you have the 5 of, right, this is the 5, yep. This is the 5 of Swords. Now, Swords, for him, was water. Was the element of water. It was completely different. This is what the Spanish system. Yeah, so you see a lot of, with the swords cards, it's backwards. Swords are water. Cups are air. But then if you look at the majors here, this is a historic deck. It's why it's the only reason I like it. But this is, that's justice. So it looks very Tarot de Marseille.
Sure.
Yeah. But it's right around the time of, I want to say early 1900, like just around, I think it was just before the Knapp Hall and the Rider-Waite-Smith came out. This was yeah. I'm fascinated with the history of it, and I like to collect all these little strange.
I like it. That's neat. Your deck reminded me of something because it's square cut.
Oh yeah.
And you don't have rounded corners.
Yeah, I like to keep them square. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the old cards were. Yeah. Old cards they weren't rounded corners. They were.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why I do it like that, because I create them exact. Like I tried. It took me a really long time to find out the process, going through old art encyclopedias and so forth. But I was able to kind of scrape together, and I really sort of got the help of a lot of people like Marco Benedetti and people like Cheryl Smith pointed me in the right direction on where to research the information, and even Robert in Place gave me some advice. And I was able to really do some detective work, and there's not a lot written about it because card making was sort of it was a very secretive, closely guarded kind of thing. Plus, you know what I mean? Because they had their own recipes and stuff. They didn't share it. They were always competing. Okay. But in the old days, in the 17th century, card makers just didn't write books. An engraver, guy's engraving. He's selling cards to people playing blackjack and gambling and stuff. He's not worried about passing the information on. So it's kind of a lost art. But it was a real fun process to relearn, to learn it and to find out the little details, like what kind of paper did they use for the core. Like I knew it was 3 sheets, but I didn't know. I didn't know the thickness of it. I didn't know how when I first started, I was making cards like this because I thought that this is too thick for me to use for a full deck, because it is thick. It's a very thick card. Right, yeah. Because I just assumed that the 2 outer layers would be thick and it would have a thinner core. But it's actually the opposite. The outer papers are thin, the inside is thicker, and so it's just experimenting with the different stuff. And,
what else is interesting with that is like in the 1800s, they actually had a machine for like in the West,
yeah,
for the saloons for playing cards. They actually had a machine. It was a big pair of scissors bolted to a iron plate that you could lay, because the cards would get worn out on the edges.
Yeah.
So they put the card in this thing, and they would trim just the edge of that fuzz off of the cards.
Wow.
With a pair of scissors, you line the card up and you cut, and you line it this way and you cut, and it would turn it this way, you turn it that way, and you cut. And I have a picture of that machine somewhere here. So
yeah,
but but there were square cards too. You could do that. You know, they didn't have round corners because that's all die cut now.
Yes.
But back then it was, you know, they didn't have
Yeah.
that. They didn't have this point.
Yeah, I mean, if people wanted them round, I could do it individually because I do have a corner rounder, but I personally prefer square because it's the historic way. It's
Yeah.
the way they
right.
were made back then, and I to me that kind of thing is important. But some people like a more practical deck; they want it to be around the corners or whatever. I mean, I could
Well,
do
you're
that.
not playing poker with those cards. You can make them where they don't have to be real easy to handle
Exactly,
because you're doing a reading with them. They don't have
exactly.
to all match exactly as far as, you know, to say, you're not like you can't tell like it's not like if you mark the deck, it's not you're not cheating with poker or something,
Yes, exactly.
so I mean it's a
Yeah,
whole
and that's a big part of why probably like you said. I mean, cheating was a big thing with cards, so
uh-huh.
people they had to look all the same exactly. But the old card, actually, the Visconti Sforza, okay, that was printed. This is the Visconti Sforza, right? It
Yeah,
was huge,
yeah.
but the thick. With Marco Benedetti told me this. He's another card creator. He told me that they were actually over a millimeter wide. So the original deck was about this length, but it was about this thick. So could you imagine me sitting there shuffling a deck that thick? It's insane.
Well,
But
yeah, I don't, yeah, right. Um, I
they
would
were
imagine I'm guessing what they probably did with that deck back then is if you got a social gathering, everybody got a card or two or three cards, and then you would tell a story based on what you got.
yeah.
And that's all they did with them. As far as I'm concerned, and entertainment.
Yes, exactly. But they played games with them mostly.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
you
there
could
was,
make the
Triumphi was a
story.
big.
You can say the story, but this is going to come true if you want to say that. But this is what I'm
Yeah,
seeing. Blah blah blah. I made a
yeah,
story, and you could actually, let's say you want to make a story about her over there. So you say, and you got three cards. Well, this is me, and this is her, and I slay the dragon for you. You can start flirting around with each other and stuff.
yeah,
You know what I mean? You could do things like that.
yeah,
Social. I read that somewhere as one of Stuart Kaplan's Encyclopedia of the Tarot. That's
yeah. He's a
probably what.
brilliant guy.
Oh yeah,
He
yeah.
was. God rest his soul. He just passed away.
Did he
Stewart.
just pass away?
Yeah, he just passed away. Yeah. That's a book that I need to get, or I know it's several volumes, but I have to get them. They're so darn pricey on eBay now.
Which
For
one?
volume 1, 2, and 3 of his encyclopedia.
Oh, okay, yeah. Are they pricey? Yeah, I had them.
Now they
I
are.
had
Yeah.
I had them. I don't have them anymore. I gave them to somebody,
Yeah.
but I did read. That's probably where I read what I just told you about the social gatherings.
Yeah.
Somebody in there said that that's what they think that they probably did with those cards.
Yeah. That they
You
did.
come in as a guest, you take two or three cards,
Yeah.
and we're going to tell stories later on.
Yeah. And that's kind of cool. I mean, they were also hand painted. Those early decks. These
Yeah,
ones, they were painted in gold foil, and they were so fancy. And it was
yeah,
like commissioned for the Duke of Milan.
yeah.
So
I think it
it
was
was very
wasn't it a
wealthy.
wedding gift?
Yes, it was a wedding gift. Exactly. Yeah.
The Visconti or Chorza family, one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, the Visconti and the Sforza, they were both into. And I just got this one from. Speaking of Stuart Kaplan, this is the Carriel Visconti, which again is really big. This is probably more the original. So I don't know, but
I
they're
got
different
that.
decks. You got
Yeah,
this one?
I got that. I got it as a gift.
Yeah, it's
I,
pretty, man.
I got it. Yeah.
I'm really happy I got it. But I don't know much about it, so I'm going to read about it. And I've been getting into the old Italian decks, which I never really was into before. They just seem boring to me, but now they have a certain appeal to me. Just like
Yeah.
the Tower de Marseille, it happened the same way. I was always bored with Tower de Marseille, and then one day I just kind of fell in love with it. And now that's what's happening with the Italian decks as well. So,
Well, there's a lot to work with there.
yeah.
A lot to look into, and I
Oh,
think
definitely.
it's really cool what you're doing with your own deck there. And
Yeah.
you might get people who willing to pay you for it.
Yeah.
and the artwork is really great. With the
Yeah,
thing-
that's so. Yeah, my friend is the artist, Shell David. He's East Tarot on YouTube, and he does
What's
also.
it? East Tarot.
Yeah, East Tarot. His name is on YouTube. He's a great guy. Shell David, his name is.
Okay.
And I'm printing his Dodal and Noble, but he has many other decks that he's also into printing, and he does stenciling. He does the old style. He's looking right now into getting a stenciling operation going, which is he's going to hand paint the colors and using stencils, and which is too much for me. I'd like to do it eventually, but I don't know if I could do it like as a business, but as a
Well, it was
hobby,
lot
it's
harder.
nice.
And that's why with a lot of these, that's why like they couldn't color break that well with that. Like here's
Yep.
the 8 of Wands.
Yes.
The wands aren't color broken. There's no white between each wand here.
Yeah.
And the blue, the center's blue. They're all intertwined with each other. These wands going back and forth. There
Yep.
should be white gaps between those wands.
Yes.
And that's why they probably made it blue, so you can see at least you can see the black lines of these wands.
Yeah.
Intertwining back and forth with each other.
True. Yeah.
Because they couldn't color break that out.
Yeah.
They couldn't do that with the stencils.
Yeah.
They didn't have the control.
Yeah, it was, when you look at those old decks, I mean, there's a certain beauty to them, but they're, some of them are a bit messy with the colors, because they were hand painted, and
Yeah.
all they really used was soap to keep the colors in, so they would bleed too, they would bleed something awful because they're
Okay.
using regular paint, and it would actually cover them with soap as a varnish,
Oh, is that what they used?
Yeah, soap. They used like a Castile soap, basically, which is like it's like olive oil soap kind of thing.
Okay. All right.
They use it for furniture too. It's actually it was a common practice back then. But later on, they would do different things to them. As card making evolved, of course, they got different varnishes. I don't know if they used shellac. They might have used shellac in some versions. I don't know exactly what they would have painted it with back then to lock the colors in. But I do know that soap was a big thing. It was like one thing that they used.
Well, the whole printing process thing was interesting, and
Yeah.
and seeing I was in that business, I don't really know the history of what they did back then, but I just even know just in my time, it changed all around.
Oh, yeah.
We were using film and stuff like that. We weren't dark rooms with trays of developing film, and now it's all digital.
Yes.
Matter of fact, I think digital printing. You've heard of Kodak? Remember Kodak?
Yes.
Biggest film manufacturer in the
Yeah.
world. Digital printing first came out. They went to Kodak and they said, "Hey, are you interested in this?" And Kodak turned them down. They said, "No, there's no film involved. We don't want it. It'll never work."
Yeah.
And it just shows you, old thinking just is, once you get locked into a certain thing,
Definitely.
you're not going to take anything new. And so that's Kodak's not around anymore because they just never, they didn't keep up with things.
Yeah,
And that's what they were about with film.
Do you even see Kodak film anymore? I don't even know. Like once in a while.
I don't think it's around.
Yeah, they're gone now. Because I do have some old film cameras, and I do buy film occasionally, but I haven't seen Kodak in quite some time.
Fuji's a big one now, isn't it?
Fuji. Yep.
Yeah. And so now there's no, there's a lot of stories like that. The LED quartz clocks, that's they went to Swiss clocks, Swiss watches. They went to them with their idea, and Swiss told them, they said that's not going to ever work. There's no gears in this stuff. There's no.
Yeah.
It's a cheap watch.
Yeah.
And so now.
Yeah. Well, guess what? People are still buying Rolexes, though. You know what I mean? People are still.
You look at Rolex. What a scam that is.
Really is.
What a waste of money.
I know.
A Rolex.
But when you got money to throw away, it's
Yeah.
not too bad. It's kind of like buying, an S550 Mercedes. You don't really need it, but it's like
Right.
if you want to drop 200 grand on the car, and you have it.
My buddy bought himself a Rolex when he retired.
God bless him.
And I thought, why would you? For one thing, you're retired, you don't even need a wristwatch. You don't have to be anywhere anymore.
Yeah.
You take your wristwatch and throw the thing away.
Yeah, that's funny. That's true.
You're gonna buy a Rolex now. Okay. But
You can buy a knockoff. You go to New York City and buy a knockoff.
Yeah, right. That's
one of the
true.
street vendors.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's about as close as I would ever get to a Rolex.
Yeah. I told him, I said, the closest I'll ever get to buying a Rolex will be I'll buy a Rolodex.
Yeah, Rolodex. Yeah.
Keep my addresses in it.
Yeah, there you go.
Not a Rolex.
That's funny.
No. Well, anyway.
So, Vincent, do you have anything else planned or any announcements you want to make or anything before we?
No, this has been great, and I hope I'd love to do it again. So down the road again, we'll keep in touch like this.
Yes, absolutely.
And by the way, email me with if you can send me some of those swatches.
I will.
Ink, and I'll send you some value.
I could probably send you the whole deck actually, because I have the copies from the museum, so I'll just send them to you. Definitely.
Okay, yeah, if you do that, and I'll send you some. I'll give you some information. I'll give you some color.
Yeah, that would be great, Vince, because I am going to start coming up with some colors, and I'm going to start ask around for help and stuff, and try different things, print it, and so forth. But
are you using Photoshop?
I am actually, believe it or not, I'm going to color it with Photoshop probably.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm using Affinity Designer, which is it's a vector brush. So the lines, it's a sort of a newer technology now. It's not pixelated. So you draw the line work in what's called a vector technology, so that it's almost like film. You can magnify it times 1,000, and it won't pixelate.
Right.
So the line work stays preserved. You know what I mean?
Right.
Doesn't matter much with small images, but it's helpful for if you want to blow it up or whatever, and recolor.
Sure. We used to use InDesign or Illustrator.
Yes.
Adobe Illustrator was a Photoshop was pixel graphics, and Illustrator was your vector.
Yes. So Illustrator has the color in vector, which is great, but I don't find that necessary. And Affinity Designer is only, I think I got it for 50% off. It's a one-time purchase of $25. I think it's $50 generally, but they're running a special. I don't know if it's still on, but you might want to try it if you're looking to create anything rather than having a paid subscription. Like, I pay for Adobe Photoshop, for instance, $10 a month.
Oh, okay.
So for 3 months, it's the same amount of money as it cost me to buy, Affinity Designer outright. So I own it. It's like it used to be. Remember before you would buy a CD and you would upload it to your computer and it stayed there. You paid one-time fee. Well, Photoshop, in their infinite wisdom, decided to, Adobe in general, they want you to have a subscription. So you pay monthly now, which is ridiculous because,
Well, I still have old computers, so I got ancient Photoshops that I use. I did this on Photoshop. I think it's Photoshop 5.5.
Yeah,
which is way 20 years ago.
It was a great program 20 years ago, though. It was a great program.
Man, and actually, I got Illustrator too. If you look at my deck, those lines are not vector.
Yeah.
Those lines are my pencil drawings.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go. I could have outlined the whole thing with vector with Illustrator, but I don't like that. But to me, I wanted to keep the drawing, the pencil marks instead.
Yeah.
I like that. I think it starts to look like a coloring book.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that. I wanted those lines in there.
Yeah.
So that's why I did it.
I definitely get it. I love your deck. I think it's a great deck, and you did a great job on it. I remember when you started drawing it, and I remember you used to show the.
Oh yeah.
Drawings. So
yeah. Well, this has been great, Justin.
Yeah, Vincent, thank you so much again, and we'll do it again for sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll put this up in the next week or two. I know you're going to put yours up, and I'm gonna put a link to your site to your channel too. and
Same,
mine.
same here, Vincent. I appreciate that, my friend.
Yeah, we'll feed
Definitely.
each other.
I appreciate that. Thank you. We'll talk
Okay.
soon. Be
All
well.
right, you take care, Justin. Take
Bye bye,
care.
my friend.
Okay, goodbye.